Okay, so I need to talk about the wizardliz situation, and I want to be very clear before I say anything. This is not a hate video. This is not drama for drama's sake, because what is happening with Liz right now is actually one of the most psychologically rich situations that internet has produced in a very long time. And if we actually take the time to understand it, not just react to it, there is something genuinely important here for all of us. So grab something warm and stay with me because we are going all the way in. So first, let me quickly set the scene for anyone who does not know who wizardliz is. Her real name is Liz. She's Belgian and she built one of the most followed self-help platforms on the internet. Millions of followers across YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Her entire brand was built on confidence, self-worth, knowing your value, not settling, being a high-value woman, leaving situations that do not serve you. And people, including me, honestly, ate it up because she was compelling. She was confident. She spoke like someone who had figured something out that the rest of us were still searching for. And then, in 2025, she revealed that her partner Landon Nickerson allegedly tried to cheat on her while she was 4 months pregnant. And the internet collectively went, wait, what? The woman who told us to never accept less than we deserve? The woman who built an entire brand on knowing your worth was allegedly in the exact situation she has been telling us to leave. And that was the beginning of something that has only gotten darker since. Because as of June 2026, this situation is no longer just about cheating. It is about an alleged child-related restraining order, visa complications that forced her to leave the United States without her son, custody disputes, accusations from both sides, and the woman who once had the most confident voice on the internet breaking down on a live stream saying, and these are her words, "My house is there, my car is there, my child is there, my whole life is there. I literally do not know what to do." And we are going to give it the weight it deserves. Okay, so here is where the psychology comes in, and this is the part nobody is talking about. Because before we get into what happened to Liz, we need to understand what she was building and what that kind of persona does to a person psychologically. Liz built what psychologists call a performative identity. This is when the version of yourself you present publicly becomes so central to your brand, your income, your entire existence, that maintaining it becomes a psychological necessity, not a choice. Every piece of content she made reinforced the narrative. I am confident, I know my worth, I do not settle. And the more her audience grew, the more pressure there was to keep being that person, publicly, consistently, regardless of what was actually happening in her private life. And here is the psychological trap of that. The stronger and more rigid your public identity, the harder it becomes to acknowledge privately when you are not living up to it. Because admitting that the relationship is complicated, or that you stayed longer than you should have, or that you love someone who is not treating you well, that does not just feel like personal vulnerability. It feels like the collapse of your entire brand. And so you stay and you perform. And the gap between who you are online and who you are in your actual life gets wider and wider until it becomes unsustainable. Okay, so let me walk you through what we actually know, because the timeline here is important. In 2025, Liz revealed Landon allegedly tried to cheat while she was 4 months pregnant. That was the headline everyone reacted to. But here is what came after that nobody fully processed. Court records and police reports that surfaced online suggest they were still living together after the cheating allegation, still cooperating, still in each other's lives in ways that did not match the narrative that had been presented publicly. Then in April 2026, Landon was reportedly arrested in Dallas County for assault family violence after police observed a mark on someone's forearm during an argument that involved their child. Then in May 2026, Liz posted on TikTok, moving to Asia for good, and on a live stream she appeared visibly emotional and said that Landon had allegedly obtained a restraining order that prevented her from taking their son with her when she left the country. She also claimed he had previously suggested she marry him for immigration purposes right before she had to leave. Landon responded denying her claims, saying he never tried to permanently keep their son from her, and that he had been raising their child mostly alone while she focused on travel and content creation. He said the legal action was because he feared she might permanently take the child out of US, and a 50-50 temporary shared custody arrangement was reportedly ordered. Now, and this is important, I am not here to tell you who is right. I do not have access to those court documents. Neither does most of the internet, even though everyone is acting like they do. What I can tell you is what this situation reveals psychologically. And that is what we are here for. Okay, so why are we so devastated by this? Why does it feel like a personal betrayal when an influencer we follow turns out to be human? And the answer is a concept called parasocial relationships. A parasocial relationship is a one-sided emotional bond where you feel like you genuinely know someone, their personality, their values, their life, even though they do not know you exist. And social media has made parasocial relationships more intense than they have ever been in history. Because Liz was not just a celebrity you admired from a distance. She was in your phone every day. She was talking to you directly. She was using language that made you feel like she was your friend, your mentor, your older sister who had figured it out. And when you have a parasocial relationship with someone who is specifically selling you a version of strength and self-worth, you do not just follow their content. You start to use them as a reference point of your own identity. Her confidence becomes something you aspire to. Her standards become a template for your own. Her public relationship becomes proof that it is possible. And then, when the reality behind the content does not match the content, it does not just feel like disappointment. It feels like grief. It feels like betrayal. Because something you built your own beliefs around has just collapsed. Research on parasocial relationships shows that the grief people feel when a parasocial bond breaks, whether through a creator scandal, a breakup, a death, activates the same brain regions as the grief felt after losing a real relationship. Your brain genuinely does not fully distinguish between the two. Okay, and this is a part that is making people online so angry and so loud right now. It is called cognitive dissonance. This is the psychological discomfort you feel when two things you believe simultaneously contradict each other. Here's what her followers believed. Liz knows what she's talking about. Liz left bad situations. Liz would never stay with someone who treated her badly. Liz is a template. Here is what the reality appears to suggest. The situation was complicated for a very long time. Staying happened. The public narrative and the private reality were not the same thing. Those two things cannot both be true at the same time. And when the brain cannot reconcile them, it produces discomfort. And discomfort needs somewhere to go. And for a lot of people online, it is going toward anger, toward feeling lied to, toward wanting to cancel the whole thing and call it fake. Here is what I want you to sit with. The gap between what we know we should do and what we actually do in relationships is one of the most documented phenomena in all of psychology. We call it the intention-behavior gap. And it does not matter how much self-worth content you have made or consumed. When attachment is involved, the brain does not follow logic. It follows the nervous system. And the nervous system is loyal to what is familiar, even when familiar is painful. Okay, and this is where I need to zoom out because I think the wizardliz situation is revealing something really important about self-help culture that we need to talk about. The self-help and high-value woman content space on the internet is built on a very specific promise. Follow these rules, know your worth, do not settle, and your life will look a certain way. And that promise is sold through people who appear to be living that version, the version of life they are describing, the confidence, the standards, the relationships that reflect their values, the aesthetic, the whole thing. But here's what that model never accounts for. Humans are not consistent. Growth is not linear. Knowing something intellectually and being able to live it when your heart is involved are completely different things. And when an influencer builds their entire brand on being the proof of concept, on being the living demonstration that this stuff works, they have no room to be a human being who struggles, who stays too long, who loves someone complicated, who makes choices that do not align with what they teach. And the audience suffers too, because when you outsource your standards to someone online, you stop doing the harder internal work of building those standards from the inside. You just copy the template, and when the template cracks, you have nothing to fall back on. The lesson of the wizardliz situation is not that she was a fraud. The lesson is that no human being can be a template for your healing. Not even the most confident voice on the internet. Your work is internal. Your standards come from inside you. And the moment you give someone else the job of embodying your self-worth for you, you are one live stream away from losing it. So what do we actually do with all of this? Because I did not make this video to pile on Liz or to feel superior or to add to the noise. I made it because I think there is something genuinely important there. First, have compassion for Liz, for yourself, for everyone involved. The situation with her son and the visa complications and the legal disputes is genuinely painful, and nobody going through that deserves to have it treated as content for our entertainment. Second, examine your parasocial relationships. Who are you following? Whose content you are using as a substitute for your own internal work? Whose standards are you borrowing instead of building? Because borrowed standards collapse when the person you borrowed them from turns out to be human. Your own standards, the ones built from your own values and your own healing, do not collapse. They belong to you. Third, understand the intention behavior gap in yourself. Before you judge Liz for staying or for the gap between her content and her private life, look at your own gaps. The thing you know you should do that you are not doing. The situation you know you should leave that you have not left. The boundary you know you should set that you keep abandoning. We all have them. Every single one of us. Because knowing is not the same as doing. And relationships make that gap wider than almost anything else in human experience.